Hello and welcome to this tutorial. I'm going to be working through this paper. This is a paper by Ubteb, that is Uganda Business Technical Examinations Board for students doing Visual Basic. This is an application done at certificate and diploma level. In this paper, learners are expected to create an application using Visual Basic on their computer. So we are going to be doing this number 1, and it was saying telling candidates to do an application for Umeme Limited, which Umeme can use for calculating Yaka units. And it wanted the students to consider the service fee, which is fixed, the VAT on the total cost of the units the client wants to buy, where each unit is 780 Uganda shillings. Okay, and then an interface is provided down here, which is a sample interface for the candidates to do. So it's saying create a Visual Basic application named Umeme Forecast. So the first thing that you do is you come and open your VS Studio Express for desktop. Okay, so you open. You must have this software on your computer. If you don't have it, you can download it from our website. It is available on our website you can open it at shareability.net/software. You can download it from there. If you don't have it, you can visit that link and you get Visual Basic software. It is there, even the key is there free. You can download. So after downloading it and installing it, you can now come here and click on File menu, and then it's a new project. You can also press Ctrl-Shift-N. Okay? Then it is going to ask you the location down here. It is very important that you browse and you take the location to the desktop where we created our folder. So we don't have a folder yet. I'm going to create a folder from within here, and I put there my name. I'm going to put Mukalele Rogers. Okay? You can, if you had created a folder before opening Visuals, you'd find the folder and select it. Then it says select folder. So the path down here is going to be there to show you that you are saving it in the right place. At the end of the exam, you will have to burn that folder to the CD. Then down here, you have to put this name, Umeme Forecast. It's the application name. So you put it as the name of the application. So you have to say Umeme what? Forecast. Okay. And then you click on OK. So when you do that, it is going to create project Umeme Forecast, and it is going to put it inside the folder that is there on the desktop for that particular project. So you leave it to create the project, and it's going to open a window for us to design our application. Okay, so the window has been opened, and we are ready to have a blank form to create an application. If you see, if you go to the folder right now, you realize that there is the Umeme Forecast has been added, and inside there is again Umeme Forecast. There is forecast.sln, and if you open this one again, you find the form 1 and all these. So all these are supposed to be part of the whole thing will be burnt to the CD. You'll actually burn the entire Mukalele Rogers. If you are doing 2 numbers, you can also put there another number, which is not Umeme Forecast, in the same folder. So let us now go ahead and design our form, our sample interface. Up here there is Umeme Forecast, which is the title. So I'm going to come here, I click on my form. One of the things that I need to do in Visual Basic is to ensure that the vital windows are open. One of the vital windows is the properties window. So you have to click on the view menu and make sure that the properties window is visible. It is down here, but it is very main, so I can drag it and then I stick it here where there is. I just come and point it to this point here. The moment I point it to this thing, and then it snaps to the right. The Solution Explorer, I can reduce it. I don't need it too much. The Properties window is very, very important. The other window that is very important is the toolbox. So it's always good to have the toolbox also in view. So if it is snapping, I can snap it also to the left so that I have my toolbox and I have my properties window. These two are very important windows to have when I'm designing my application. Now I'm going to come here and then I come and I put my Umeme forecast. So this form, text is form 1. But what I want is to change it to Umeme forecast. Umeme underscore forecast. You have to be very careful. If they are capital letters, I type Umeme underscore forecast. I already have marks. Then if they tell me to hand in now, I have some marks. I've saved, I've put a title on my application, Umeme forecast. Okay. I can always adjust the width of my form basing on how much information I will need to put on my application. Okay, so that is done. After putting that, I will go ahead. I want to put, we have labels, we have text boxes. So we have several elements here on our interface. Okay, so I'm going to come and I say here under the toolbox here. Okay, so I have what you call a group box. I have what you call a group box. I can use a group box for labeling my things. I can use many things here. Okay, so group box displays a frame around a group of controls. So I'm going to select a group box, and this group box is going to be the one to help me with the things above. These things are inside this box. So I've used the group box for that. Okay. So this group box here, according to what I'm seeing, does not have any text on it. So I'm going to remove the text. So it just remains my group box there. Okay. So, okay. So let me have that. That is just a small group box. This group box does not have a, let me just put a small color here for you to see very well what the group box is. So this is my group box. This group box is this one here. This one here, which is enclosing all these ones. Now, I have what you call a label, service fee. So I'm going to come here and I select a label. So we should be able to know all these. So this label, I'm putting it inside. And I come to the label text and I call it service what? Service fee. Okay? VAT. I come here. I can copy and paste. I can decide to copy and then paste if I don't want to recreate a fresh. So I can come here and then I select a new one. I copy. You can copy an element and duplicate it. Okay, so I have that. Okay, then I have fixed charges total. I can add a fresh one if I don't want to duplicate. And I call it, I go to its text and I call it fixed charges total. Okay, so I'll have that as my fixed charges total, which is this first spatula part, which is down here. So I'm going to add another label. I'm going to add another label down here, and I'm going to call this label units purchased. So I can say units purchased. Okay. After doing units purchased, I have also total what? Total cost. So this thing can help you to align the elements so that they don't, you click on the element, then you can change its text. This is total what? Total cost. Good. So I've finished putting the labels on my interface. Now I'm going to put the text boxes accordingly. So I need a text box for each of these. So I'm going to choose text box and I put it in the right place. I can always increase its size. I can always see based on what is needed here in my interface. If my form was too big, I can reduce it a bit to make sure that it is proportionate to what was given. I can also increase maybe the font sizes and other things, but that is not very important. So I'm going to come, choose another text box, aligning it very well with the rest and making sure it is the same size with the other. And then also I choose another text box and I put it here and then I align it accordingly. So when I do that, I have that. Then I have another text box for units purchased, which I can align. Then I have another text box which I can use. So this line can show you when you drop it, it shows you so that you can align and make sure the text box says there's some kind of uniformity in what you've done. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 text boxes, and I've managed to put 5 text boxes on my interface. So now I'm going to put in the buttons. We have 2 buttons. We have fixed charges total and the total cost. So I'm going to choose fixed charges total. Fixed charges total is somewhere within the group box above. So I had not put enough space, so I'm going to push this a bit down. Then I can choose my button and I put it here. This is my button. Okay. So I'm going to call this button its text fixed charges total. Okay. I have fixed charges total, and then also I have total cost. Okay, so I can choose another button, and then this one I'm going to call it total cost. Okay, I have total cost. Okay, so basically I have almost achieved my interface, and I think I should be good, having some good marks. So they are saying, using the information, design the form with all the controls. So these ones are, the elements are also called controls. So I've managed to get, so far I have only 6 marks. They are saying, name the controls on the form using standard criteria. It's always good to name our controls so that we can refer to them when we are programming. So I'm going to go and I name my controls. So I'm going to come here. This is a label. So since it's a label, the text is different from the name. So the name is down here. This one is what we call the name. So here, this is here is a label. So I'm going to call it LBL. I'm going to use the prefix LBL for labels, service. But these labels are not very important if you are not going to use them in the programming. So I'm calling this LBL service fee. I'm calling this one LBL VAT, LBL VAT. I'm going to call this one a label, since it's a label, LBL fixed charges, fixed city. You don't have to write the whole name. This one has to be the same. Okay, instead of label 4, I'm going to call it LBL units. Okay. Then this last one here, I'm going to call it, instead of label 5, LBL total what? Cost. Okay, so what is most important, by the way, to label are the text boxes, because we shall pick information from them. So this being a text box, instead of calling it text box 1, I'm going to call it txt text box. So text txt text box service what? Service fee, txt service fee. I'm going to call this one txt, I'm changing the name, but this one is a button, so I'm going to call it btn fixed charges total. You can abbreviate it or you can write it. Whatever you write, you remember you will be able to use that in the programming, the other side, when you're programming. So btn fixed charges total. Then I have, this one is txt fixed what? Fixed charges total. Maybe I can be consistent. If I used this one fixed charges total, even this one I can call it fixed charges total as a button, so that I'm consistent. Now, this is a btn, this is a txt, this is a label for the same thing. Then here, this one was LBL units. I'm going to call this one txt units. Okay? Then this one here, the total cost, I'm going to call it btn tc. Okay? tc. How did I call this one? I call this one T cost. So let me call it btn T cost. And then down here, I'm going to call this txt T cost. So I've used the standard criteria, and even this form of mine, instead of calling it the name, here down is the name, yeah, the form itself. Okay, so whenever you double click on any element, to take you to the code view. You can always close that in case it was by mistake, and then you should be able to move. So the name of the form is already there, the txt, and I should be able to continue. Okay, so let us proceed now. The name, I think here we had put, okay, let us proceed. Let me hope I did not txt units. I think I had labeled in the wrong place. This one here is, I'd clicked on the form, so the form is supposed to be, this is supposed to be form Umeme forecast. I can also rename the real form. So this other one here is text box 4, is txt units. So you have to be careful, make sure that if you click in the space, then you will be renaming the form. The Umeme form also has a name, and also it has the other text, which was the text up here in the form. So I've finished each and everything as needed there. Name the controls using standard criteria. Now, they are saying part D, change the read-only property for fixed charges. and total cost text box to be true. So read only means these particular areas we should not be able to what? To enter data. They should be read only. So for example, right now I'm having my form. If I save, it's always good to save because power can go off. If I run my program right now, if I try to run my program, I've not done any programming, so my program should run. So my program is running. This is the program. But you can see the service fee I can type in. It is not read only, it is read and write. I can type in. Even if I click on these buttons, there is no programming anywhere, so there's nothing it is doing. But I can type in all the text boxes. But they are saying we should make these ones read only. So they are saying we should make fixed charges and the total cost text box to be true. So the fixed charges, here we should not type there, it should be read only. So I'm going to come and I say read only is a property under the properties. I'm going to change it to true. Okay, I click on it, and then they are saying the fixed charges and the total cost. Total cost also should be read only because we shall not type in it. Okay, so that means if I run my program, you can see these ones here, you can't type there, they are a bit grayed out. I can't type in these ones, but I can type here, but I can't type here. Even if I click, it is read only because I've made it read only. Okay, so that is about just changing the properties. Okay, so we are about to finish our number. We are just left with a few parts, and we shall be through with our exam. Code the application now. This is the most interesting part. After you have designed your GUI, you can now dive into the coding. And Visual Basic is graphical user interface based, but you can program the buttons and other controls based on events. Visual Basic is event driven. So when I click on a button, that is an event. What should happen when a button is clicked? When I enter text, what should happen? That is an event. So we are now going to code the application to enable all the operations of the different buttons, combo boxes, so that they can work. And we shall be done. That's all. The rest of the parts are to transfer the work to the CD. So follow, observe here as we program. So if you go back to our question, the question said, and we got the interface, the question said the service fee is 380. 3880. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I can actually set the default service fee. So I can say I'm going to go to the text box for service fee, and I go and I put in the value 3880. So that is the default that is in there, the service fee. Then the VAT is going to be calculated later. Okay, so that is what they have told me. Then they told me VAT is 18% of total cost. So what I'm going to do, let me first calculate the total cost. And I know the unit is 780. So I'm going to double click on this total cost. I'm going to calculate, this one is for calculating the overall total cost. So I need to first calculate the fixed charges. Then after that, I can generate the entire total cost. So I'm going to double click on this fixed charges button now. Now, please take note that at first I had clicked on some other entity here up, and it put these other codes here. These codes, I can remove them. But even if I leave them there, there will be no problem. But not to confuse the examiner with my codes. I can remove them, or I could leave them there but for this case, I will not use them. So whenever I double click on something, codes come. So I can always remove. For example, if I come and I double click on this label, on this label of VAT, the label, I double click on it, it is going to bring private sub, LBL, VAT, click. Meaning that it thinks that I want to program if someone clicks on that label, which I don't want. So I'm going to remove it. I clicked on it by mistake. So I should always only remain with what I want to program clicked on. So now I'm going to come here. What I needed is only this part. So in case the BTN fixed charges total, when it is clicked, what should we do? So one, for us to calculate the fixed charges, we need to know first of all, you need to know the units that someone has calculated total amount of units, and then from there we shall calculate the VAT to get the total unit cost. So you need to calculate the total unit cost. So we are going to first capture using a dim, that is declare variable, dim total units cost as integer. No, we are going to use double, because if you use integer, it means you are not dealing with decimal places. So I'm going to use double. So I'm saying, the question is saying here that VAT is 18% of total unit cost. So we need first to get that total unit cost. So dim total unit cost as double. Okay? So after getting dim total unit cost as double, we are going to say total units cost, which is a variable, is going to be equal to, remember we are having our units purchased. Our unit purchased, it is a label, and its name is, what is its name? We called it Txt units. No, this is the text box. Okay.
Txt.
Okay, so we want to get the name. Yeah, it's called Txt units, isn't it? So we are going to get whatever is inside here, and then we save it. So I'm going to have Txt, and by the way, it can guide you, by the way. You don't have to go and look for it. You just start. If it's a text box, you just say Txt, and it will list all the Txts based on how you labeled them. So it is Txt units, okay, dot text. So we capture whatever someone will have entered there. So Txt units dot text times, how much is a unit? A unit is 780. Okay. You don't put the Uganda shillings here because that is text. So what I'm doing here, I'm getting the total unit cost by getting the units someone will have entered. So in this units purchased, I can put there a default value of 0 by default. So if someone, so it will get this, and then we multiply Txt units the text times 780 to get the total unit cost. After getting the total unit cost, they are telling us in here that VAT is 18% of total unit cost. So I'm going to get the label for VAT. So I'm going to say Txt VAT, okay, the text, okay, is equal to total unit cost. So I'm getting this total unit cost which I have calculated, times what? Times 18%. 18% is 0.18. Okay, so that is 18%. So I get this total unit cost, and I multiply it with the 18% to get the VAT, and then I save that inside the text box, txt vat.text. Okay, so after doing that, it will mean that I have got the units down here. I have managed to calculate the VAT. The service fee is already the default one, so I can get the fixed charges total here. So the fixed charges total, according to what they are saying here, I'm going to get txt fixed charges total dot text is equal to is going to be equal to the txt service fee dot text plus txt VAT dot text. So this is what is happening. So I'm getting I'm getting this total here, which is fixed charges total, by adding these two. According to the illustration here, that's what it seems to be, that we are going to add the service fee and the VAT. When we click on this button, we calculate the VAT, we add it to the service fee, and then we save the answer here. I could first do these things in variables, but now I'm saving them inside the application direct so that I can continue. So basically, that is what I'm having, and the fixed charges total is done. Let me just try to test my application, and I see whether it is going to work. So I'm going to come here and I run. So when I click on that button, so you can see by default there is the 3,800 here, which is the service fee, and this VAT, actually I would have also put the VAT there, which is 18%, instead of programming it within the code, because it is 18. But what I wanted is the units. If I have 10 units, it will calculate. But now, one thing I'm seeing here is not getting correct answer. Okay, it is just doing what you call concatenation. It is simply concatenating. It is getting this one plus this one, and then it brings it here. So what I'm going to do, let me first go back to my code. Okay. So I have this. I have fixed charges total.text. I'm having the service fee, and then I have the what. So it is taking this to be strings. Okay. Okay, let me do this. I'm going to solve this problem by introducing more variables so that it can treat them as numbers. So I'm going to say dim. I want this total unity cost. Then I have the VAT. This VAT here. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to say VAT dim VAT. Actually, I can introduce all at once. VAT, then what else? Service fee. Okay. So I've introduced 3 more variables here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have total unity cost, which is a variable. VAT, instead of using this directly, I'm going to say VAT. Okay. Then the service fee also, I'm going to first say service fee. I need first to calculate these in variables. It's better, as you have seen. If you just do it within the TXTs, then it will not work out. So it will just concatenate instead of multiplying. So here I'm going to have the service fee was what? The service fee is equal to Service fee was provided, isn't it? Yeah. So service fee is, let me get it, txt service fee dot text. Okay, so I'm getting it from the text box. I save it in the variable. Then finally, what do I want? I want the fixed charges total. So fixed charges total. Let me also declare the variable there. So I'm going to say fixed charges total is equal to txt fixed charges total dot what? Dot text. Okay. Now here where there is VAT, I'm going to go up this side and I put in VAT. So the VAT, the default value, let me put in a default value under the text. Put there 18. Okay. 18. I can say 0.18. Okay, I can say 0.18 or I can say 18. So here, instead of putting there 0.18, I'm going to put, I can declare okay, I can declare the variable direct. So I can say total VAT. I have what called VAT rate as well. VAT rate. Okay, let me have VAT rate as well. So I'm going to have VAT rate. VAT rate is equal to what? Txt VAT dot what? Dot text. Okay. So you need to learn. So what am I doing here? Here I've declared all my variables in one line. All the variables are memory location for storing information. Then here I'm capturing let me first remove this. Here I'm capturing the VAT rate from the text, the other side. I'm capturing all these things. I can capture I can calculate that. So I have the txt units dot text. Okay, these units are units also. I can have a variable for that. Let me also add units. Units. Okay, so let me also capture the units. So I have the VAT rate. I have the units. Units is going to be equal to txt units dot what? Dot text. Okay. So I have this txt units dot text means I'm going to the text box. I pick the text which is there. VAT rate, I got the VAT text box. I pick the. Now, if I'm to get the total unit cost. Total unit cost is going to be equal to units times the unit fee, the unit cost. So the unit cost they told us 780. So I could have something like that, unit cost. But ideally in programming, you could actually also have another variable for that on the interface, and then so that people don't have to come back in the code. But let us proceed. So unit cost is equal to that. Now, VAT is going to be equal to total unit cost, which we have calculated here, times the VAT rate. Okay. Now I'm using variables. Then here, I'm about to finish this, and then it'll be good. Where there is the service fee is being captured also from the text box. Okay. Then from there, I'm going to get the fixed charges total. Now I'm no longer going to get from the text boxes. Now I can just add from the variables. So the fixed charges total is going to be equal to service fee plus what? VAT. Not VAT rate, not TXT. So I should now be able to run very well. So the challenge was we were getting the TXT. So remember TXT, sometimes it can just get letters. It will just concatenate. So now if I put in my units, 10 units. Okay, so I want to put in 10 units. These are the units purchased. And it should be able to calculate for me and get for me the fixed charges total. Okay, so I'm having this one here is service fee is txt service fee dot text. Okay, service fee is here given, the text is there. The VAT, I'm inside this button, fixed charges total. VAT is total end cost times VAT rate. Total end cost is units times 780. Okay, the units are coming from units.txt, txt units.text. Okay, so then the VAT rate is also being given here. Okay, so from here I should be able to really work out when I proceed. Okay, so okay, there is no, I have to put back the, that's why the thing is working, but I've not told it to put back the answer in the text box. After calculating the fixed charges total, then I will go and say txt fixed charges total dot text is now going to be equal to our fixed charges total, which is the variable. So it was calculating and saving the answer here, but it was not putting it in the what? In the text box. When we are programming, even in exams, nothing comes automatically. You will always debug. Debugging is part of it. So you can see now it is working. You can see. So if I have 0 units purchased, the fixed charges will just be the service fee, which is 3,800. Okay. If I have 100 units, so it is now working very well. So if I have 0 units, that day, maybe that month I was not around, I went for safari the whole month, no, 0 units used, still I will have the other fixed charges of 3,800. Okay? Yeah, so the thing has worked. So in the exam, this particular exam, you have like 3 hours, but within some short time that I so far have done this, I should, so far it is 40 minutes, I'm almost done. Now, the second part for this, now that that one is done, the second part which they wanted is for us to calculate now, after getting the fixed charges total, so now we want to calculate the total cost down here. So the total cost is going to be the cost of the units plus the fixed charges. So that one is going to happen in another button. So I'll go now and I click on another button, total cost. Double click on it. One of the lessons we have to learn is we always have to use variables, so because they can clearly pick the data, put it in a particular data type and use it for computation. If you don't use variables and you deal with the data directly from the text boxes, it means the variables will not be defined. So I'm going to say here, what do I want to do? I want to calculate the total cost. The total cost, I'm going to get the other total units and then I add on the fixed charges, and then I put the total cost here. Everything is already computed. So I'm going to have my variable here of total units cost, okay? And then I will have, so I'm going to have dim total cost as what? Double. So it's good to use double because they allow both decimals. Then I'm going to say total cost is equal to total unit cost, total units cost times plus fixed charges total. But now one thing you can see here is that these variables were used up there, but they are unknown down here. So I may have to recreate them here down. The variables were declared up there, but they are not known. So one quick way of fixing this issue is to save them as global variables so that they are used throughout the program. If I have them within a private sub, they will only be working within this private sub. So when I come to this private sub, it doesn't know the total unit cost, yet I've already calculated it here. It doesn't know the fixed. We want the information which I have calculated up here to be used down here to get the total. So for us to save these to be global variables, what we are going to do is we are going to get these computations here. So I have the total unit cost, and then I also have the fixed. So I have this. So I will calculate these ones, and I will only put that thing outside there. So I'm going to remove these, and I come outside here within the Umeme forecast, not in a private sub. I put the computations out here. Okay, let us see how it works out. Then I will have it inside here. So I have within the public class Umeme forecast, I have my work. Now I may have to put this after running because still it is having issues. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into the form. I double click on the form itself outside. I double click so that it can bring this part. Private sub, Umeme forecast load. In case the, okay, let me see. Okay, let me just do it like this. Let me just make it simple so that we don't have any issue. So I'm going to just, for now, let me just duplicate this. You can look at more on global variables. Let me just put them in both since they are needed for now. Put them here, and also let me put them down here. Okay, so that they are used everywhere for now since because of time. Yes, okay, so finished. So I have finished this, and after calculating the total cost, I need to save it back into txt total cost. It should be equal to dot text. Should be equal to total cost. Okay. Finished. So now let me run my program. Let me try to do some magnification here so that we can see. I'm going to do some little magnification here. So this is what I have. Okay, so this is my program. It's called Umeme Forecast. If you put here units purchased 10 and you calculate the fixed charges total, it gives you the fixed charges total. If you have 0 units purchased, the fixed charges total will remain 380. But if you have 10 units, that means you'll calculate that to give us the total. Then I can press total cost also, and it gives me the final total cost, which is going to be a total of the fixed charges plus the units that we're using. So this is our program, and in our programming interface, the main thing we have done is we had to design our form called Umeme Forecast. We had to put these interfaces the way we designed and named them very well. The properties window here was of help to make sure that everything is okay. Then after that, we went into the code by double clicking on the total cost, on the fixed charges total button. It took us into the code. This is the code that we managed to have. One of the things is there's something I was exploring I've duplicated the code, so I have this VAT rate and all these things everywhere. But here, my variables are global. Oh, I think this thing was possible. It was possible for me not to actually have, because if I have these variables as global, and then I compute them down here, when I come down here, I don't have to these ones here are already computed up there. So let me try to remove this. So if I remove this, it will work, because these variables are global because I put them outside the private sub. But if I put them inside the private sub, if I get these variables here, and I put them inside this first private sub, you see all the variables now are unknown, since I'm using them undeclared. So if I declare them inside the private sub here, you realize that here there will be no errors, but down here again errors will be there, because once you declare the variables inside the private sub, that's like a function, there will be local variables within the function, so they will work only here. So if I want these variables also, like in this other second part, I need to add the total cost plus the fixed cost, which were calculated above, but again I may have to recalculate them if I never. So the only thing I had to do was to get these variables, and I say that no, these variables will be used by many private sub, many functions, not only this one. So I declare them from outside. And then from there I can watch. They will now work everywhere. They will work within the first private sub, which is executed. It is event-driven programming. It is executed once we've clicked on the button of computing the fixed charges total, and also they will be accessible when we click on the second button of total cost, because we have declared them from outside the private sub, so they can work in both, instead of duplicating everything in both methods. That is not good for the programming. So when I save that and I come to my program and I click on start, my program will run normally, and I will be good to go. So basically that is what I've managed to look at. I should be able to first calculate the fixed charges total, and then you can calculate the total cost in order to get the final answer. Okay, so that is it. That is our program, and I'm ending here. Okay, I'd magnified just for a faster view. Okay, thank you very much for listening to me. So what you do, you close your program like this. So this question is saying, we have done everything. I've done it in 1 hour. You have 3 hours normally in the exam, so you should be able to do this. Save all the work, project files, folder to desktop, create education desktop. This is what we did at the beginning. Now, they tell you to print the application codes and interfaces. If they tell you to print the application codes and interfaces, so you will go and get your codes down here. You will get your codes. So what do you print? If they tell you to print the application codes and interfaces, you can print from the other side, because even here, if I go to this form1.vb and if I open it with Notepad, I'll be able to see my codes. The codes are normally kept inside the VB. You can see here are all my codes now in Notepad, no longer in VB. So I can actually print. This is the main part of the program. So I can print the codes from here. Printing is just, can even paste them in Microsoft Word and print. But the other thing that you would do is to get to print the screenshot. So you can still open back your VS Code for desktop if you had closed it, and then you go to recent projects. For the interface, you basically get a screenshot. So I can go to recent projects and solutions, and then I'll be able to find my project here. Then it will load. So you should know how to open a previous program that you designed. So you should be able to know how to open it. And so when it has opened here, I can close some of these things. And I can use what we call, let me just show you how you print your work. So you can open, when you are printing your work, you can open Microsoft Word, since it is one which is well organized with a computer. You open Microsoft Word, and you put there your name and the student number. So it's good. So you put there Mukalele, Rogers, then you put there UBBJA, and you put there all your student number. After putting there your student number, you put there the question number. Maybe this is question 4. Okay? It is question 4 or it is question 1. Then you get the screenshot from the program. So I can run this. I can take the screenshot of this program. So you can press Alt print screen. Alt print screen can help you to capture that window. Print screen. Or if you don't want to use print screen, then you can paste. You can see Alt print screen has captured only the active window. So I click on this window, I press Alt print screen. It will take a picture, a snapshot of the window which is active, and then I paste in my work. If I don't want to do that, I can use this clipping. I can use the snipping tool. The snipping tool can also be of help. So I just say new, and then I snip what I want. Okay? Then I copy that snipping tool, and I paste in my work. Okay? Then the codes, I just double click on the button. Okay? Then I have all my codes here. I can also just snip them, or I can just copy them and I paste in my Word document. Okay? So I can copy them for them to be clear, or I can still snip. So I will have my work like this. So for each number that you do, you have to, so I have my codes down here. So always put there your name, you put there your illustration up here, and you also put your name. So it's good to put your name, because some of you just print and papers are second the other side, and we don't know whose work it is. Thank you very much. So after this, you can say Control P, and you print. Normally there is a printer that they have installed. You select the printer that they have installed for you to print, and print. So when you print your work, we have your name, your screenshot, and your codes. So I thank you very much for listening to me, and I wish you all the best. You have 3 hours. I've done it in 1 hour, so you can also do it. Be blessed.